And to continue that and to show to you that we were talking all the time about the fact that the remote education is not only about science, but the project-based method can be used not only in science. I would like to give the floor to Hanna Buchner, who has just joined us. It's the perfect time. Well, this is the name of the internet site, working version, Wersja Robocza, and Mrs. Buchner runs it. Over to you. I don't have any presentation. I am going just to talk to you. The working version is something which is still work in progress. It is good because it is something which is in use and not something that was once prepared and then pushed aside. Hi, my name is Hanna Buchner, and I am involved in the project-based method in school education. It is quite a specific area of our business. But I'm also a teacher. I teach both in primary school as well as in secondary school, and it is my passion, it is my devotion. This is something I really like, and I consider this to be my hobby. You can't really make money on it. The only thing you can do is just to have fun. And this is how I take it. I found other methods to make money. Project-based method, you can turn it off because it's not mine. Darek said that we have to take a broader perspective. Let's have a very broad perspective. Our time is limited, so I'm just going to look at the watch in order not to enter into the time for your coffee break. Well, a project is a magic word in school. It is going to change everything. It is going to simply give all of us creativity, ingenuity. It is a wonderful panacea to all the problems of Polish schools. It came up for the first time when junior high schools were created in Poland. It was roughly 20 years ago. The idea behind that was that every student must do some project. Everyone must have something to do with project-based method. And everything would be great, or it would have been great, if they had said what it means, what the project had been. In the past, projects had been done in the design offices where some architectural blueprints had been prepared or something like that. And then when something was written or drawn in on a sheet of paper, it was a design of what was going to be done. And then at school, it turned out that it was everything. It was just absolutely everything. And you can put there everything that will be created by a teacher, a principal, or sometimes parents. For example, let's go to the park. It's going to be a project of park. Let's put different furniture in the room. It's going to be a project about classroom. Let's write a poem. It's going to be a project about poetry. And in that we can see that we may have lost the sense of the project-based work. Well, the majority of the schools lost the sense, and then we had to rediscover it. In Poland, we have a black and white legend of projects. I think that high school students know what white and black legends are because they may have already had something to do with Napoleon. So let's start with the black legend. And it is mainly sourced from some of teachers and students. Well, again, project. What does it mean? We enter the room, someone allocates tasks to us, and usually we had to get off our comfort zone, which is our benches, and we have to do something we do not do every day, and then we have to work in groups. Well, this is a magic word, groups, and it means that one person who is more responsible or more hardworking or more apt is a leader of the group and will do everything. And usually in such a group there is someone who doesn't know what it is about, or someone who is sickly, so we never see that person, or they are lazy and they don't want to work at all. And some other people who, depending on the subject, will get involved or will not get involved. Those who are the best usually hate projects at school because they are those who do most of the job and they have to actually tag others along. Those who work poorly, they don't really like doing those projects because before everything starts, they seem to be like morons. So they don't really like it. And now, since you are sitting here at the conference, you came here and you cared a little bit. You are those creme de la creme, those who actually bring others with them. Most probably it is the case, but you yourselves know what it is like at school. Then, well, it's going to be a project. You do your work, be creative to make sure that everything is great, but we want it to be done like this, that, and that. And those points are from 1 to 10. The scoring will be going to be done like that. Why does the school need it? To just settle some grant, if the grant was presented to the school, or take some pictures and post them on Facebook or some other media. And if it's a private school, or if it needs some promotion or encourage new candidates. If it's a public school, then, well, the money also is important.
So the teachers and students who are often pushed to do that, not necessarily volunteering, they might not like it. If you ask a student what is it that they don't like most in project, they list teamwork, group work, because you never know who you are going to get in the group, and this unpredictability. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if somebody who comes is fascinated with the environment or someone else fascinated by technology, or somebody decides that we are going to save sick cats. You know, you come to school, and it often happens, so at least we hear it from the students, that it often happens. It's a surprise party. You never know what's going to happen. Not entirely. Not everyone likes that, and everyone enjoys that. Some people enjoy surprises, some hate them. So this is the dark legend that follows. You know, what's wrong, what's not right. Even before it starts, sometimes we hear, oh my God, this is going to be a week of projects. You know, they complain and moan, but there is also the white legend behind it, the miracles that are supposed to happen in education, and the specialists of that are the owners of the school, sometimes the principal, sometimes the parents who read in research studies that project method teaches more and more quickly. You know, you don't really see that so much, because if people don't do anything through the week, and then when the deadline comes, they just try nervously to do something, the quality is so-so, and we are still very far from Harvard, so we ask ourselves the question why we are doing that. But, you know, appearances are appearances. If you put in an educational product into a search engine, you find all kinds of miracles there. You know, it's nice to look at it, to see what a wonderful job Polish education is doing, because nobody's showing their failures. Nobody's showing that some things do not work. Nobody's showing that frustrated, ambitious student who's going to pull lazy bones on his or her shoulders to maintain appearances. Nobody's showing the schools painting the grass green because important guests are coming. We are only showing successes. And you have to remember that, whether you do your own projects, and I'm talking to teachers and students alike, whether you do your projects, participate in something that's being offered to you, first, always, you know, don't look at the appearances. Sometimes we are disenchanted with something because, you know, it seems that, you know, it's a long-term project. We saw photos before, people were very happy, and now when I'm participating in it, it turns out not to be that great. Why? Because life is not what you see on Facebook or TikTok or whatever else. It looks the way it looks. It is what it is. So if the project lasts several days, weeks, months, you get a lot of frustration, conflict, interpersonal conflict, and failed undertakings. Is it a good thing? Well, it's the only way to learn anything. And that's something that Polish education fails to understand of it, that it's supposed to fail. You are supposed to make mistakes, not just as an individual, but as a group. When I do week-long projects in schools, the biggest failure for me is when all the teams do their job, they do that perfectly and exactly as it was imagined by the teachers, because that means that nothing serious happened en route, because, you know, where did these wonderful solutions come from? Either chat did that, or parents for the younger classes, or this one single participant who really found it important. So is there anything in between the dark and the white? Yes, there is something in between. There's us. you might say. So people who are encouraged to do that, who are told that we will benefit from it. So can you really benefit from it as an average person? Because there is a benefit for the school. We know that. Promotion, it looks good in paperwork. Sometimes there is an inflow of money. Parents are proud. Parents love project outcomes, especially in primary schools. You know, oh, this is so beautiful, a beautiful exhibition. And, you know, even though the arts teacher corrected, let's put it this way, the majority of these displayed images, that's not really significant. So now, what can you do to change that? Because in truth, the thing is, we complain about the ministry, about the system, about the curriculum. We complain a lot because we love it. It's what we do here in this country. But there are some places where, you know, you can get some room, get some space and think, you know, it's for me. I'm supposed to be developing, so let's check it. Let's try and do something our own way. And so it's about both teachers and students, whether they get into that route, if they check, if, you know, if anything is up to them. So I don't know if you have taken part in major projects like EU-funded projects or ministry-funded projects. Typically, these projects have a relatively broad framework, and within that framework, you have to come up with something for yourself. For instance, it's all entitled environment, and it's supposed to be associated with local community. It doesn't matter if you plant trees, clean up garbage, or create a solar bench that's going to charge your cell phone. It doesn't matter. It's all about spending the money well and obtaining some local environmental outcome. You know, I'm trying not to use that word, but you know, if environment benefit is going to happen, let's put it this way. So if we get information from the teacher about the project being planned, it's like a goose being fed. You have to be careful of that, and I'm talking to the students now, but also to the teachers, because it's also always it's often something suggested from up there. You know, we are sometimes in the project, perhaps even here. I'm not sure how this project has been organized, but you know, you hear, yes, let's go to a conference to the technical university, and whether I care about that or not, I'm dragged here, even though perhaps, you know, I'd rather be somewhere else in the park on the other side of the street, as the weather is so wonderful. So if it happens that you're only consuming, you're a consumer like the one in the shop. Someone prepares a mush that's supposed to be good for you. It's supposed to be educational, and you just swallow it. You just take it in like a goose that it's being fed, and once you're fed well enough, something else can be done with it. Well, you can eat it. That's a drastic example, or use for different purposes, less drastically perhaps. So the first step on the part of the student is to, well, before they are forced to do anything, arrive with your own idea, with your own project. Our project, an idea for something, the true project, the way it was intended, is a situation where the majority of steps depends on the individual taking these steps. The same happens when you go to work. If your boss tells you, do a project in a company, the boss will expect for the team to sit together, consider the situation now, wonder what needs to be done in order to change things, sell more items or change the reality, and then that same team, step by step, wonders what to do and then does it. The school doesn't work that way. You come to school, you find out about the anticipated outcome, the steps that you're expected to take, and how many points you're going to get for a specific step. So if you select proper teams, you will get first 10 points. If you deliver the design, then 10 points. It doesn't look like that in real life. And you can, you know, refer that to a situation where you have your own private ideas, you're teenagers. You must have these moments in life when you become interested in something, intrigued by something, no matter what that is, whether it's looking for a destination for your holidays or some branch of science. Doesn't matter if it's planning to get to a good university. Nobody has to tell you what steps to take. You will come up with those steps. If you don't, you will ask someone who knows more about that, someone who took these exams before, to tell you, to explain how to get ready for them. So at school, the curriculum and the entire system promotes projects. So every teacher is supposed to have at least one project under their belt from time to time. At least that's the regulation. It happens in some schools and it doesn't in others. But those projects are meant to be yours, not brought to you, put on the table and tell you, get excited about them. No, but that costs. I'm not saying that it's all happening so easily. You have to really consider what is it that you expect from a specific topic like history. If you don't want to sit around and be bored for a number of hours because there's going to be a lecture by the history teacher who just keeps droning on, it would be good to come up with some topic that's important for me in this area, in history. I'm not sure, perhaps a good example would be what Bednarska High School did. They had a project in history. It was entitled Going Back to Your Roots. So they traveled, all around the country looking for your roots, and, it seems banal. And it is, in a way. It's a trivial idea, but the non-banal thing is that people were involved, that people really wanted to do that. They really wanted to go somewhere to the countryside. It's all happening within school hours. So are you really learning then? Perhaps a biology teacher is going to get a panic attack because we are not doing the curriculum. So, all that has to be settled. But from the point of view of a teacher, you have either a situation where you can only trust yourself, so you do your own projects. And then the teachers are subcontractors of sorts. So they come and they have to do the job that I tell them to do. I expect a given outcome. It's going to be a project, but it's going to be a single person project. I'm the only owner of that project as a teacher. And then the situation of students is less than interesting. So either but I can also, as a teacher, trust my students. They come to me, they tell me what they want to do, and I can like it or not. Now, the question is if that fits into the broad school framework, or is it completely out there? Because if that project is about, I don't know, favorite music and bands, and we are talking about history, perhaps, it's completely outside of the frame. But if my students actually did something like that. They didn't want to learn from about the new HIT handbook. They didn't want to have these classes based on that handbook. So we asked them what they wanted to do, and they said that they would go through a number of museums depicting modern history, and then they organized a debate about that. And that debate really worked out. As a teacher, I would maybe expect that to be even better than it was. But the fact that they came up with it, they organized all that, they implemented all that. They went to Gdańsk and, in 5 different places to collect material, to do research. I think it's going to be better for them in the future than learning dates by heart. Why? Because in some of the museums, some of them would never go there if it wasn't for that project. So this was not my project. I hate debates. Oxford debate is not something that I love. I dislike it. In the museums, mostly, I think half of the people sleep through what the guide is saying. So I wouldn't choose that, but they chose it. Some of them were bored. Not everyone participated actively in the debate, but still, I think the fact that they did it their own way was very beneficial because they knew that they were not slaves coming to school. They came to school being free people. They offered something and we used it. We still have 1 more minute to go. So 1 minute to the teachers. I think it's a speech about everything and nothing, but I hope it will encourage you to take action. There is a rule for instructors, trainers. If you do a training, some activity, you have to have fun. You yourself, you cannot be bored in your own class. So I encourage teachers to look for something for themselves in all that, so that it's not just a necessary evil. Even if some of the projects are forced upon you, if you take it up, it doesn't matter if it's about snails in the gardens of Warsaw or if it's going to be about Polish rulers. Find something, at least one tiny little thing that's going to make you interested, that it's going to attract you. That's going to be your bit. I come from a Montessori educational rule. Montessori was a woman who revolutionized education. She said that work happens when you develop in whichever area, psychologically, mentally, scientifically, or physically. So just do whatever you can to make sure that your projects, whether it's your idea or somebody else's idea, whether they are true work, developing work, because that's the only circumstance when you're not wasting time, and only then the school can win against the park on the other side of the road. It sometimes happens. I wish it to all of you, teachers and students alike, and thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much. This was very energizing. I'm not sure if we even need a coffee break, but yes, we will get a coffee break, don't worry. But you started talking about frustration, about, some things thrown into our garden that we don't want to do. I think that's something that really teaches us about the future. But yes, change it if that happens, because it's a waste of life. For now, we are exactly on time according to agenda. So thank you very much for all the previous presenters. So now let's have a coffee break that's going to be served downstairs. There